Kazakhstan has chosen the multi-vector integration. Its trends, collisions, and prospects are coming up in the single market program.
Kazakhstan and the Doing Business rating. Market of electric cars in the EAEU. The New Silk Road, new perspectives. Iron logics of Metal Prom Group. Hello, this is Pavel Koktishev. You're watching the Single Market Program. Doing Business is one of the most reputable ratings in the world. It's carried out annually by the World Bank experts. They assess every country by the level of comfort of doing business on the basis of research undertaken for 10 indicators. This rating is published in autumn, near to the end of the year, so it serves the purpose of being a sort of a home task and an orientation for the next season. Maria Kuznetsova was looking into how Kazakhstan looks like in Doing Business 2018 rating through the eyes of experts. The less are the risks and the better are the conditions for doing business. The more is probability for the potential investors that they will be able to successfully invest their funds in new projects.
Foreign investors are interested in two things primarily. First of all, they want to have possibilities of making more money, right? So the returns to investors is important. Second is the protection of their capital. Once they invest the money, they want it to be protected.
Therefore, potential investors always study the trustworthy surveys. Such surveys include the Doing Business rating. It is held by the World Bank group of companies. Experts assess each country within this rating by 10 indicators. They include raising of loans, international trade, minority investor protection, property registration, ensuring performance of contracts, etc. One of the features of the Doing Business is that this report is traditionally sounded out in October. Therefore, the assessment given by the World Bank could be considered through the prism of three meanings: as a result of the past business season, orientation for investors, and homework for the government for a year ahead.
If you have looked at the Doing Business report, this is one area where Kazakhstan actually needs to work on. Kazakhstan has done extremely well in the ranking, but there are some improvements which can still happen.
Kazakhstan was at the 35th place in the Doing Business 2017 report, and in the rating for 2018, the Republic has lost 1 point and went to the 36th place. Experts see no clear regress in this. In principle, if we look at the structure of this index, we have not changed considerably in relation to the last year. I mean, there was no substantial worsening.
But it's a relative ranking. It's not an absolute ranking. So some other countries do better, and then your ranking can go down. But it's still in the top 50. It's still done. In Central Asia, it is number 1.
To know what sectors require the improvement of the process of doing business, let's speak first about indicators where Kazakhstan has worsened. The Republic has lost at once 2 points in the Raising of Loans Index. It has dropped down from the 75th place to the 77th. The reason for this, to the opinion of the experts working in the World Bank group of companies, is that Kazakhstan still does not ensure an adequate level of access to financing for the small and medium-scale businesses.
They don't have the assets to pledge to the banks, and therefore it is limited what they can borrow. So microfinance institutions have come in, and they have a different model in which they use in order to provide small loans sometimes few $1,000s, sometimes it could be tens of thousands of dollars, but they are relatively small at the same time.
Such a parameter as lack of the credit register also leaves much to be desired. To change the situation, additional measures need to be taken to improve the business environment. By the way, Kazakhstan will soon get such a package of measures. It has already been developed and is waiting to be approved. Created a base to set up a electronic register of real estate pledges. In other words, these are securities, various goods. We, the National Bank, support the necessity to ensure the priority of pledge lenders. So if we can do this, we will be able to substantially change our position in doing business. Considerable changes are required, and for such an index of this rating as international trade. Here, Kazakhstan has got quite a weak result, 123rd place. However, the Republic was on the mere 122nd line in Doing Business 2017 as well.
Right, in order to move goods and open up areas, regional areas, infrastructure like roads, railroads, air links are really essential. Without that, you cannot open regions in Kazakhstan to investments.
Kazakhstan is working on development of the transport infrastructure and improvement of logistics, and there are some steps forward in this direction. Alongside with this, experts believe there are moments in the infrastructure sphere which should be taken into account for the improvement of the international trade indicator as a whole.
When you're talking about the trade, you're looking at two different kinds of barriers. They're going to be hard barriers, what we call the infrastructure, the roads, the railway link, the warehousing, electricity, all those are hard infrastructure. And then there are always soft infrastructure, the permits, the customs, the paperwork. How do you reduce and improve those things? Because that combined, both of these things combined, actually determine what is the cost of moving a particular shipment.
And now about the strong positions of Kazakhstan in the Doing Business 2018 report. The Republic has succeeded in such an indicator as protection of minority investors. It assesses the level of protection of shareholders in case of a conflict of interest. Three key factors are taken into account: transparency of transactions between the interested persons, ability of shareholders to file a case with a court for the company's directors undertaking transactions in their own interest, as well as access of the plaintiff shareholder to the case documents. Doing Business 2017 ranked Kazakhstan third in the world in protection of minority investors. In 2018, the Republic has moved to the first line and headed the index. This means that when we attract foreign investors, portfolio investors, their rights are protected. Accordingly, all legislative grounds for the participation of their companies are created. Whatever positions Kazakhstan holds by these or those indicators, and as a result, whatever is its summary score in the Doing Business rating, all this depends on the national economic strategy and achievement of social stability. Therefore, diversification of the economy and improvement of the human capital quality remains the basic vectors of the country development, including for doing business. Maria Kuznetsova, Anatoly Valyuski, especially for the Single Market Program. According to the prognosis of the International Energy Agency, the global fleet of electric cars will grow up to 150 million cars, or by almost 40% by 2040, if to take into account that currently the electric car share is just 0.2%. And experts believe such a growth is quite possible, because some countries have already sounded out their plans regarding the stimulation of the profile market. For example, the United Kingdom has announced that by 2040, cars with both international combustion engines and hybrid ones would be banned for sale. And China is already today taking measures to increase the fleet of new ecologically clean cars. What are, in this context, perspectives of the car manufacturers of the EAEU countries? We will learn from our observer, Alexander Galiev.
Узнаем от нашего обозревателя Александра Галиева.
Taking into account the specifics of the topic, this time we broke the customary order of the review. Let's start with the fact that the two largest car manufacturers in Kazakhstan have already mastered the pilot manufacturing of green cars. The first electric car of Kazakhstani assembly was manufactured at the conveyor of Asia Auto Company in 2014. It turned out to be a Kia Soul EV crossover. In 2016, Allure Auto has manufactured a trial batch of JAC electric cars. And in 2017, Asia Auto has shown Lada Vesta EV electric car at the Expo. So there is already a precedent of domestic machinery building enterprises mastering the manufacture of electric cars. But next come some questions.
В 2016 году в Казахстане было
35 new passenger electric cars were sold in Kazakhstan in 2016. Only 7 of them were of Kazakhstani assembly. Almost the same ratio could be observed for the outcomes of 2017. To compare, in China, sales of electric cars in 2017 were 50% more than in 2016. In the meantime, the EAEU provides for some preferences for this transport. For example, electric car owners are exempt from transport tax. But if to take into account the experience of the European Union and China, where huge subsidies are given to buy green cars, then stimulating measures taken in the EAEU are not sufficient. Besides, our enthusiasts of the electric car traffic face certain problems. So far, electric charging stations can be found only in big cities. Meanwhile, one charge is enough for driving 300 to 400 kilometers and is even less in winter. But the distances between settlements in the EAEU countries are quite large. Therefore, a well-developed network of charging stations is needed. If this problem is solved, there will be another reason for motivation apart from improvement of the environment. An electric car is less expensive in operation. For example, 100 kilometers drive with this car cost $1.50 or $2. A petrol engine car for the same distance will be 2 times more expensive. Besides, electric cars, to the experts' opinion, are more reliable. And instead of a resume, electric cars still have to conquer the vast spaces of the Eurasian integration. Nevertheless, this market has promised good perspectives in the EAEU too, because the Eurasian scientists are planning to make a breakthrough in the field of accumulating batteries, making them long-lasting. This is it from me. It was Alexander Galiev. One Belt, One Road is a global economic concept which was presented for the first time at a global level in Kazakhstan by Xi Jinping in 2013. The Chinese leader was sounded out in Astana that within this concept, the Celestial Empire was planning to implement 2 large-scale projects, Economic Belt of the Silk Road and Sea Silk Road of the 21st century. It is not by an accident that this presentation took place in Kazakhstan. With this, China hinted that our country was one of the first potential partners it will count on. The territory of countries which, one way or the other, are involved in the global project One Belt, One Road is home to 63% of the Earth population. The assumed economic effect of its implementation is $21 trillion. This figure exceeds the total annual volume of the Chinese GDP in 2.5 times. At the same time, to analyst opinion, 2 big changes should be taken into account here.
First, how well are these projects executed? And second, once they're executed well, what does that mean for normal people? And one of the challenges, I think, in any society and state is to invest money successfully and carefully. But if this is done correctly, these big infrastructure projects that will happen in Kazakhstan and in many of the other countries does have the potential to change the lives for tens of millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of people.
Out of these projects, the overland part of the global initiative, Silk Road Economic Belt, is specifically important for Kazakhstan. Here, the Republic has all chances to occupy a decent niche in the inter-regional cooperation, to get a new impetus for the economic development, and, most importantly, to form a new own system of logistics which will fit into the global network. Recent estimations held under the auspices of the Eurasian Bank of Development show that the route Western China, Kazakhstan, Russia, Europe is the most effective, and no other options can compare to it as for the effectiveness. An agreement for the implementation of 51 joint projects has been signed at the level of heads of states of Kazakhstan and China in May 2017. Assets thereof are evaluated at $26 billion. One of them is at the implementation stage. It is establishment of a gas and chemical complex which will produce polypropylene. This is the largest Chinese investment project in the territory of the Eurasian Economic Union. The State Bank of China has allocated $2 billion to build the complex. If we want to get the maximum out of this Chinese initiative, we should draw on the following. This initiative suggests, first of all, large-scale joint investment projects. As for the achieved outcomes, they can be seen through the prism of Kazakhstani transit of cargoes shipped from China to the countries of the EAEU, Central Asia, and Europe. For the recent 2 to 3 years, the volumes of container cargoes crossing the border with Kazakhstan have increased almost thrice. This happens inter alia thanks to the opening of new logistical routes. On the 14th of November 2017, a railway train consisting of wagons of JSC KTZ Express left the Finnish station of Kouvola for the Chinese Xi'an. This train with the forestry industry products overcame the distance of over 8,500 kilometers in 10 days and crossed territories of 3 states of the EAEU, Belarus, Russia, and Kazakhstan. A currently very fresh, very urgent topic of interlinking the EAEU with the Silk Road Economic Belt, i.e. railway flows, container terminals, and digital technologies. We carry out a number of projects related to database building, for example, for mutual investments in our countries, for the investments coming from the Eurasian continent, and those which our companies make outside the Eurasian Union. In the context of implementation of the Chinese initiative in the territory of Kazakhstan, the infrastructure of acceptance, shipment, storage, and execution of the goods flows is currently developed. A network of modern trade and logistics A-class centers is formed in the Republic these days. Our task is to set up an infrastructure to show our neighbors in all countries that we are ready to receive any number of containers, wagons, and cargoes, and to increase the transit potential of our republic at this account. Those who have many friends feel free like in a steppe. Those who have no friends are squeezed like between hand palms. This ancient Chinese wisdom quite precisely reflects the context of the present day. To expand the space of trade and business ties, one needs to look for allies and partners. And to do this today, when more points of encounter of mutual interest are appearing and new main traffic roads are being built, is much easier. Oleg Boldarev, Nijat Yusupov, specially for the Single Market Program. Mining and metallurgy complex is one of the key sectors in the Kazakhstani economy. Work of many Republican enterprises depends on its development, and it influences export volumes significantly. This is explained by the variety of the mining and metallurgy production enterprises. The profile complex, besides ore mining enterprises, includes those producing metals and rolled metal products. And by the way, Kazakhstani rolled metal products hold a decent place in the export market. How does one of such enterprises work, and what plans does it have for the future? This will be shown in the following package. Metal Prom Group Company has appeared in the market of Kazakhstan in 2009. The enterprise started as a small workshop producing metal products. As the demand in these products grew, the enterprise gained opportunities for development. The plant has bought additional lines and increased its capacities. Today, the enterprise produces pipes, profiled sheeting, zinc-coated sheets, lath, and metal tile roofing. We supply products to 13 cities of Kazakhstan. Besides, we export our products to Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Russia, and Afghanistan. The main supplier of raw materials for this enterprise is ArcelorMittal Timurtau Company. Machinery and equipment to increase the production capacities were bought from country members of the Customs Union, whose successor is the Eurasian Economic Union. And today the enterprise has got new opportunities for cooperation within this integration alliance. It benefits us to make purchase and sale transactions with Russia and Belarus. There are no custom barriers and unnecessary problems. It is more complicated to buy machinery or raw materials from far abroad countries. Their goods are more expensive and customs duties are higher. The high share of Kazakhstani content and conditions of work in the integration format allowed this enterprise to occupy a good niche in the market of Central Asia and the EAEU. An optimal balance of value for money is kept here. The enterprise is continuously aiming at the technological growth. In 2015, over 3.5 million tenge were paid to introduce new technologies. The process of modernization was supported by monitoring. Analysis of novelties' impact on the production was conducted at the first stage, and opinions of suppliers and customers were surveyed. At the second stage, the enterprise personnel were trained at special courses. If we compare the figures, previously volumes of production of our goods were 17,000 tons a year. We can be proud that we have increased the volumes multifold. The fast-growing dynamics of the production became a reason for the implementation of a next project. The company plans to build a new plant. The total cost of the project is estimated at 7,720 million tenge. The location for the new enterprise was chosen in the Almaty industrial zone. A land plot of 14 hectares have already been allocated for the new plant. Railroad is brought, there are all the utilities, electricity, water, etc. And the zone itself is in close vicinity to the city. With the opening of the new plant, the company will have opportunities for the increase of all indicators, profit, volumes of production, both produced and intended for the exports. Especially as the demand and delivery of Kazakhstani rolled metal products is growing. The map of export directions of this enterprise now includes 2 more countries, Iran and China. This is it for today. Pavel Kokdyshev was with you. A reminder, you can watch all our broadcasts on www.kazakh-tv.kz website. See you again in the Single Market program.